We are talking about Iwa Pele today. So I'm going to give some people some time to get in, but I do want to get started promptly. Welcome to everybody who is joining right now. I really appreciate you all showing up. We're talking about a very, very important topic today, which is about character, walking in good character. I really don't like that word good, but we're going to get to that as well. Do want to remind everybody to go ahead and definitely sign up for our newsletter, because in doing so, you're going to be able to catch me when I do so many different things. You'll know ahead of time, especially for people like on Instagram, where I can't make the public announcements beforehand when I go live and things like that. I think all the other channels get it. I know YouTube does, etc. Definitely, guys, if you are interested in an Ifá reading, Ifá divination, we do that at Asanee 44. So if you want to head through that process, we're getting quite a few orders right now, and I really appreciate it, but definitely it's causing a little bit of a backlog than what we normally are at. But we have a pretty good turnaround time right now. So if you are interested in the Ifá divination, we're going to talk about it too as part of Iwa Pele, or good character, today. So I do have quite a few people joining already on Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with what I want to talk about. So Iwa Pele, this is a very, very important principle in the Ifá tradition. Most of the time you hear it translated as good character, right, in the Western world, but it's really more so about gentle, kind, or noble character. The reason why I personally don't like to say good, because there's so many different connotations of the word good, and certain things that we actually consider good can be hmm it can be too much in some cases, and then in certain instances what may be considered good, because it's a very subjective term in the Western world, could actually be taboo for someone. We're going to talk about that as well. And so if you are out of alignment with your taboos, then you are not walking in Iwa Pele. So you want to be careful there. Okay, but overall it's about being gentle, being noble, having a good character. So many different things emphasized in this notion. But the basic things that we know, even in the Christianity, Islam, all major religions at the end of the day teach this. You want to be humble. You want to, like, not brag, not put yourself out there. Even so, I'm gonna say here, like, oversharing, because I see that a lot on social media, and I personally cringe every time I see someone telling all of their business and things like that. That's actually not part of good character, because oversharing, especially in a space where you're bragging, is not humble. That's not being, a humble person. Obviously, being loyal to your commitments to the people that you're meant to work with, and then patience, taking your time. This is a huge part of it, because a lot of times people do start with Ifá because they think it's going to get them out of a situation or a challenge really, really quickly, and they can continue to live however way they desire to do so. Right. And Ifá is absolutely good. The ritual work, you can, manifest a whole lot of things, and it can come fairly quickly. But the goal is still to walk in good character. In humility, I should say it that way, an honorable character. Because unfortunately in today's world, Ifá has been come to be known as this, you can come here, you can get this real quick and do this and so forth and so on. I see you. It says, T, the lady, you're saying oversharing is your downfall, not in a bragging way, just communicative, but I still need to persevere. Absolutely. And even if it's not in a bragging way, I'm happy you brought it up. Sometimes it is just people communicating, they're talking. It could be a spiritual issue for one thing, but beyond it just being a spiritual issue, it can cause you problems, because it could be a taboo for you, or a warning, a spiritual warning. I see that all the time in Ifá readings, where somebody will get a warning not to tell too much of their business. That's a major spiritual principle. And I did a video about this. I think it's on the podcast on Spotify. I don't know what's going on with me, so excuse me, guys. Today I don't know what's going on with my throat, but I keep on having to clear it. But going back to what I was saying, absolutely, there are so many different things. That's why like I said, I don't want to say good, because especially somebody coming from a Christian perspective, they have the notion of, good being following this list of 10 commandments. And, maybe some people who are overzealous may get into, the book of Leviticus or something like that. And they're focused on some of those even deeper layers of principles, spiritual principles and teachings that go on in there. Well, like with Ifa, yeah, there are foundational things. We're supposed to treat everybody good. We're supposed to, not violate basic human decency principles and things like that. But something could actually be taboo for you that would be considered good in the Western world. So that's, again, another reason why I don't really like using that terminology, right? Because it could be something that you're not supposed to be doing, and it would be considered benign otherwise. But if you're not doing it, you're out of balance, and you are going to cause yourself some issues with being out of balance, right? So, and that's the point too I want to make here, is that from my perspective, I always say Iwa Pele is about balance and harmony. All right. And so with anything, there is two ends of the spectrum, and there's that middle ground. Right. Even with something like love, because that's another example, because everybody would consider, well, love is a good thing. Well, you can love somebody too much to the point where you're causing them really bad harm, right? You be obsessive, really jealous over them, and you don't want them to do anything outside of being around you, where you literally smother the person. And of course, it could even be more dangerous than that if you don't have control over your emotions. You get really, really jealous and obsessive about the person, right? So, and then also on the opposite end of that is actually jealousy, because jealousy actually comes from a space of love, where you're loving something about that person or that person so much to where you don't want them to have certain things. When I say jealousy here, I'm saying jealousy from the perspective of you not wanting them to have what they have, not jealous like you jealous over somebody that you're in love with, but jealous over maybe like a friend or a colleague or something like that. So it can go both ways. So herein, Iwa Pele is ultimately about being in a space of balance and harmony. Nobody is always there. That's just how it goes, right? This all about what our journey is here on this earth, is getting to a space of balance and harmony. So oftentimes you might have it where you're balanced in one area of your life, but you're imbalanced in another area. And so that's why we seek help from the Orishas, the spiritual forces, to help us to get back in balance. So don't feel bad if you're not in balance. It's not about, you have to be perfect, or if you're not, doing certain things a certain way, you're going to hell, or, this type of notion. That's not what it's about either. However, it does absolutely impact so many aspects of your life when you are out of balance. Now, I do want to answer this question that I get quite often when it comes to people and not being in balance, right? So they want to know, like, will my rituals or my spell work actually work if I'm not walking in gentle character or Iwa Pele or what have you? The answer to that is yes, if they are performed right. So number one, that comes with you working with, excuse me, number one, that comes with you working with somebody who actually knows what they're doing, who's doing ritual work properly. And if that's the case, they implement that ritual work, it is going to go through. However, the area that you're out of balance in your life, you can still be impacted in that way. So let me give an example here. Maybe you're going to get ritual work. You want to take a crochet or do some kind of spiritual soap to increase profits in your business or what have you, or even your career, whatever you may be doing to get money. and you utilize that, you do the ritual work, you take the associated spiritual medicine, etc. That is going to work. But let's say you are out of balance in your relationship, you're married and you're cheating on your spouse, okay? You're out of balance there. So what that looks like is you could enjoy a lot of financial blessings, right, from that ritual work that you're dealing with. But then over here, if you are not being faithful to your mate, then that could obviously end up in divorce. And if it ends in divorce, then some of your money could be taken along in that process. So that's just one example, right? Ritual work is not going to just make everything in your life perfect and you can just do whatever you want and live however you want. Because as I always say, Ifa is a way of life. It is about morality. It's about living in balance, in good character. I say this all the time. That's the way I live. That's why I came to the tradition. It was not for me to just embrace something just so I could do or live whatever way that I desire to do so. Okay. That's what it really is about. Do some people embrace the tradition so that they can live any kind of way and just do some ritual work and keep going about their business? Absolutely. Does that ritual work? Absolutely. Yes, there are people who, you know, are involved in all types of nefarious acts whereby they actually get ritual work to protect them in what they do, okay, in criminal activity and things like that. And it works, it does. But again, they also experience challenges in other aspects of their life. So you have to be careful with that as well. So now, what does being in balance look like? There are four different components to this. First, you want to be in balance with yourself, with your ori. Okay, you want to be led by your head, and you want to be in alignment with your ori, your head, because that is the spirit that is going to open up the gateways, the doors for you to get whatever blessings that you are due in this life, and to help you and to lead you into definitely fulfilling your destiny. All of our spiritual team has some responsibility in that, but your ori is the one that basically opens up that door and says yay or nay, as far as if you're going to be able to accept things that are meant for you. Because there are things that are meant for you, but you may not get them because you're out of alignment with your ori. So one of the first things I always tell people to do is just take proper care of yourself. All right, that's personal hygiene. That's self-care, making sure that you are well nourished, you're eating properly, you're exercising. That can go a long way. I know it sounds boring or what have you, right? But that can go a long way in you being in alignment with yourself and you being able to walk in Iwa Pele, right? And I'm going to get to that because some people do struggle, legitimately struggle with maintaining good character. And I'm going to talk about what can we do when situations like that occur, because it's legit. Some of it is physical, some of it is spiritual. Even when you're trying, because there are some people who really and truly try, but like against their best efforts, they just can't get it right. Okay. Another major part of being in alignment with your ori is being led by your ori and following. That's your intuition, guys. So when you get a sense, you have a sense of knowing, like, I should be doing this or I shouldn't be doing that, and you don't follow that, you automatically put yourself out of alignment with your ori. It's going to cause you to feel guilt. It's going to cause you to feel stress, doubt, and all kinds of negative emotions, which ultimately open up the gateway for all kind of evil energies to come into your life and wreak havoc in your life in a number of different ways. So you definitely want to follow your intuition, be led by your ori. Another huge thing, like I talked about before, is not violating your taboos. You only know your taboos through going through the process when we're talking about Ifa, because you can actually get a notion and an understanding of your taboos when you practice other traditions as well, because this aspect or component is definitely part of other African traditions, but we're specifically referring to Ifa here. So, and also there are layers to taboos, right? So you might get like some temporary taboos when you get a reading that you need to follow right then and there. And there are, of course, life taboos. Most people are going to get that who are born into the tradition. They get there early on. If you come to the tradition later on, you'll learn about your taboos typically in increments. So the first part of that is when you go and do the initiation process. So if you do like the first part of just receiving the hand of Ifa without going through full initiation, you're going to get taboos related to Ifa, any Orisha really that you initiate onto. You're going to get those taboos. And if you get just the pot or what have you, the icon for that Orisha first before going through the full initiation process, you're going to get taboos that could actually change. So when you go and get fully initiated, those taboos may be different. But whenever you get full initiation, those are going to be your permanent taboos. And you can find out, you can go and get a reading and ask about your taboos, and you're going to get certain ones, but you're not going to get the full scope of taboos in just an Ifa reading. The lady you said, Ashe, thank you. He was about to ask a question that I began to answer. Okay, perfect. So yeah, you can go and you can get the you can get some knowledge of your taboos. You want to know that, guys, because so many people, this is a huge issue as well. So many people are violating taboos. They don't know it. You don't know what you don't know. This was absolutely my case. I was doing some things that, I thought was legit. Certain things I wasn't even supposed to be eating, like fish and things like that, right? And I love fish. That was like one of my favorite foods. But when I found out my taboos that are connected to Ocean, she's not my head Orisha, but I'm highly connected to her. I can't eat fish, right? So, and I didn't realize that that was causing me issues, but it was. And it's basic, really, really simple things like that. You're asking what is an Ifa divination for? So Ifa divination is when you get a reading. It's going to come with an Odu, and I'm going to do a live screen that's like much more in depth. But just the basics of it, you're going to get an Odu. Odu will talk about what's going on in your life at that particular moment, some things that you need to be aware of and mindful of, and it's going to tell you what Orishas you need to appease at that moment and what you need to give to those Orishas. You can ask questions during an Ifa reading. We allow up to 3 questions because sometimes people want to, whole book reading, and that's not even possible, because even if you get that, you're not going to be able to follow everything that you get in that one reading. And typically somebody who a devotee of Ifa is going to get an Ifa reading about every 30 days or whenever they need to. When it could be earlier, it could be later. It just depends on the individual. But like in traditional Yoruba society, 30 days of monthly cycle is normal to do readings. Yes, taboos are absolutely important. I think it's KK's is your name. And guys, I'm looking back and forth because I have 2 different screens. So I have my Instagram people on one screen. Simple things like telling lies, absolutely. Thank you for that. Something as simple as telling lies could be a taboo for a person, and they could be doing it all the time and don't realize that they are blocking so many blessings by telling lies. Absolutely. You will only know your taboos through Ifa divination, and you're going to get this information over time. So it's not like you're going to go and get a reading and you're going to just be laid out all your taboos. It's going to come in increments for people who come in the tradition later on in life. If you're born in the tradition, it's much more different for you. Okay. You receive hand of Ifa. You learn your taboos that are related to Ifa. So like if you get initiated unto another Orisha, you'll have taboos that's also connected to you to your relationship with that Orisha as well. Okay, so you're asking, what if you're unable to appease all the Orishas that are present in the divination? So, what we do personally, everybody is different. So, I'm speaking from what we do at Asanee 44. If somebody is having that issue, we always say, let us know and we'll tell you the most important ones that you need to do right now. All right. And we'll try to narrow it down to at least one Orisha, but it may be two, just depending on that person's situation. And then we advise you still to work on appeasing the other one. So it may take you a month or so, a little bit longer or what have you. But if you at least start the process, they see that you're working on it. They see that you're putting in the effort. They will absolutely honor that if you take your time. If you have to take, longer than a month, maybe a month and a half to finish off all of the Ebo that's related to your Ifa reading. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. But that's the way that we do it. And I'm going to say this too, because I did get this question this weekend from someone. Don't let anybody scare you, right? So absolutely, it's best for you to get Ebo. I always say don't get an Ifa reading if you cannot get your Ebo done. All right, be prepared for that process. And, I say that with a whole lot of caution because you don't know exactly how much it is going to cost, but just be prepared for that reality that it is going to come with Ebo afterwards, okay? That being said, if you don't complete your Ebo, and it could be in your reading that you are about to experience death. I will say that because that does come up sometimes. But in general, if it doesn't say in your reading that you are really sick and you're close to experiencing death, do not let anybody pressure you into getting Ebo through threats and things like that, like something negative is going to happen to you or so forth and so on. Like if you can't do it, then obviously your situation is probably going to stay the same or get worse because it will tell you what's going to happen in the reading. But that's why I say always try to make those steps to do at least one of your sacrifices, because in doing so, you will at least start to appease the Orisha and ask them. I always say this, like if you are having challenges with getting money to do your Ebo, ask your Orishas for help. Say, I want to do this, and my financial situation, provide a way, open the door. That has happened so many times to many of my clients. Like I tell them, if they are meant for you, if they want you to feed them and they know your situation, they're going to provide an avenue for you to be able to do so. Okay. So you're saying you're not sure how it's done in every LA. I'm not sure what you're talking about here. I think it's Kakis. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. You saying that you feel like Ifa won't ask anything that is attainable. It's up to you to prioritize what's important. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, 100%. And I love what you just said there. It is true. Ifa is not. A lot of times people can't afford it. That's another thing, to get to, because sometimes people are like, well, I can't afford to do this right now, but yet they will turn around and go and get their hair done or go and get a Gucci bag or something like that, but they can't prioritize their spiritual work. Okay. That's why I say, like, if you're not ready to go down this path, don't even get a reading, because it makes no sense to even do that. And then you're not going to be ready to commit financially to the Ebo, and also commit to what comes up in the reading, because this is a huge part of what we're talking about here. So if you do get a reading and you get taboos, temporary or permanent taboos that will come up and say, hey, this applies to your entire life, you're not supposed to wear red or something like that, and you're not ready to follow through with that, like, don't go down that path. Wait until you're ready. Okay. Also, it may be spiritual warnings that come up. So spiritual warnings are very similar to taboos, but they're not as harsh, so to speak, because spirits understand, like, you may have some challenges working in this particular area. Certain things may, just not be feasible for you. So they give you a little bit of leniency when it comes to the warnings, but just be mindful of that. Be mindful of what you need to do. That's why I love to put our readings in written form so that people can come back to it and you can see this and you say, okay, yeah, I'm not supposed to do this, or this is the way I'm supposed to go, so forth and so on. Yes, it is a sacrifice. Thank you. Definitely. She's saying Ebo is a sacrifice. You pay the bill or you do Ebo, you choose Ebo over anything and everything else. Absolutely, because you're going to pay that bill anyway. Definitely. Because if you are trying to avoid something, or you're trying to, remove a challenge or something like that out of your life, and you choose not to pay the Ebo, that challenge is going to present itself, and it's going to come in you having to sacrifice something, whether it be finances or your life, or something else, a relationship, a job, whatever it may be, right? Because you might be about to lose something. You're still going to do the sacrifice regardless of what way it goes down. So it's better for you to go ahead and do sacrifice through Ebo instead of losing whatever else you may have to lose in their process. Could someone other who did the reading do the appeasement, give the sacrifice? Yes, but I caution you in this area. So the question here is, guys, and I'm sorry because I can't put the Instagram questions on my screen. That's what I would love to do right now, but I can't. So the question here is, can somebody else who, after you get an Ifa reading, they tell you what sacrifices you're supposed to do, can somebody else go and do that sacrifice process for you? And I'm assuming you're meaning here like a person that's not connected to the person who did the actual reading, because that actually happens all the time, especially in Nigeria, where you might have one person to do the reading, but another person at the temple that's connected to that individual does the actual sacrifice, but they do it in collaboration with that person. So it's not like you go here and get a reading and then you go over here and get the sacrifice with somebody who doesn't even know the person. You could do that. I don't suggest it. To be honest with you, a good Ifa priestess or priest would probably not go off of somebody else's reading to do your sacrifices and offerings. So like if you took this reading and said, hey, this is what I just got over here, can you do these sacrifices and offerings for whatever reason why you want it done by somebody else? Most Ifa priests and priestesses will not do something like that because they don't want to operate off of somebody else's work. It's not a really good thing to do, if you understand what I mean. So I would caution against something like that. You can do it, but I'd caution against it. Absolutely down with Taboos. You're saying it's not anything you wouldn't switch. I wouldn't, but it's up to you. So you're saying the person did a reading and the only had another do the sacrifice. It caused me not to want to move forward because of the. But no, that's if it's somebody that is connected with that person that's working with them in their temple, in their house, that is very, very normal for somebody who is trained and knows how to do the actual sacrificial process to do the work, right? Because like this process can get really, really busy, right? You get backlog, and even so, you're going to be working. They work collaboratively together. All right. In the U.S., you actually see a lot of individualism, but when you go into Nigeria, you're actually going to see people working in a temple together, and they're kind of exchanging what they do based on their qualifications and their skill sets and things like that. Even so, an Ifa reading over there, like you got multiple people reciting the Odu when the reading is done. It's not like just one person there in the temple doing it by themselves. That's not typically the way you're going to see it on the continent. You can see it a lot like that with the individual readings here in the U.S. or outside of the U.S. Outside of Nigeria rather. like in, European places and so forth, where like the availability may just not be there. That's like just by default because of the situations that we live in right now, with the tradition being like so spread out and so spread thin. But moving forward, another part of Iwa Pele is being in balance with other living beings. So this would include the animals, the trees, the plants, and so forth and so on. And you want to absolutely be in balance with humans as well, other humans as well, and other animals and plants and so forth and so on. Anything that is living, okay? You want to treat others with respect and courtesy. It basically boils down to what you call the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. For those who came from that Christian context, you know what I'm sure there are verses in Islam that do the same thing or say the same thing. But it's this notion of being in harmony with other people. You know what it takes to avoid that. Does it happen? Yes. We all offend other people from time to time. People offend us. That's just the way it goes. So there are ways to make up for those types of things with that person, right? And then also spiritually, depending on the offense, you may actually definitely need to do some kind of sacrificial offering or something like that, depending on what it was. Okay. Another part of it is being in alignment or balance with the environment itself. So basically, respecting the natural world. A lot of the things that we do out here, we're not in Iwa Pele with, right? When you go outside in your environment and there's pollution and things like that, or even just littering on the ground, like that's out of balance. You want to take care of the earth the same way that the earth takes care of us. You want to take care of your water supply. You want to be gentle with those things, with every aspect of the environment, every aspect of the world. You want to be in balance with these things. You don't want to be out of balance with any aspect of life. That's what being in Iwa Pele is. Okay. And also with your spiritual forces, your spiritual team. You definitely want to be spending quality time with your spirit. So I'm not just talking about when you go and do the offerings and the sacrifices, but actually praying, talking to them just as you would your fellow man. All right. You want to have a relationship, a connection with them. It's not just about give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, right? I'm just going to go and do this sacrifice because I want my life to be a certain way. I want my finances good. I want my relationship good. I want my health good, etc. It's about actually walking with your spiritual forces and developing that connection with them and staying, connected with them throughout. Okay. Completing those prescribed Ebo and also voluntary Ebo. So we've been talking about that and I wanted to get to it here. Definitely. When you do get an Ifa reading, like we were just talking about, you want to go ahead and get your Ebo. If you can get it all done, that is the best thing to do. If you can't get it all done, at least get the most important ones performed. Okay. And then you also, sometimes you might want to do voluntary Ebo. So in a reading, it may be revealed like you need to feed your Ori regularly, or you may need to feed your Egbe regularly, or you may need to feed another spiritual force, whatever, your head Orisha or something like that regularly. And so this is going to be on you. Like whenever you get that feeling like, I just need to feed, Ogun today. You can do that. And when I say that, if you're not initiated, that means you're going through like a priest or a priestess and saying, hey, feed Ogun for me on my behalf. And, they'll determine what's best to feed that Orisha at that time. Or, you might choose what to feed them if you know what they normally take. I don't suggest that. I always ask I will just like, what should I feed? Ogun. I just feel like feeding Ogun. What should I feed? What's the best thing right now? And he'll let me know, and then we proceed from there. You're saying And your ancestors are also your first line of defense. Absolutely. That's something that I preach. Like, start that connection with your ancestors, because they're going to lead you and guide you in the direction that you should be in. They're going to connect you with the right people, okay, to help you along this journey, because unfortunately there is like so many unscrupulous things going on right now with Ifa. And it's not unique to Ifa, let me say that too. Like, it happens in every single solitary religion. It's just that it's more difficult for me to see it happening in Ifa, because this is about us returning to our tradition. So I would love for it to be so much more easier and efficient for people to navigate. But unfortunately, we do have some things, that are going on. So you definitely want to start with your ancestral spirits here. You want to work with them, so that way they can take you down that right path. Okay. So now let me get into, because I do want to close up here shortly. So guys, if you do have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. If you have any lingering questions, and I'm going to try to take them as we go along. Iwa Pele alignment. So I said before, some people struggle with being in alignment with gentle character, and this is absolutely legitimate. Okay. It could be physical, where it's just imbalances in your own body, right? You don't have the right vitamins, nutrients that you need going on at the right levels. And this can absolutely cause you imbalance in the way you think, in the way you behave, so forth and so on. Even when you don't want to, you might be like struggling, like, I don't know why I keep doing this, right? But you don't want to do it, but you keep doing it. And a lot of that absolutely has to do with you not being able to think properly and make good decisions. So you definitely want to have a positive attitude and mindset. And in order to do that, you want to take care of your holistic health, guys. Start dealing with like herbs and natural supplements and things like that. You can even go get tested if you want to see if you have any imbalances, vitamins, nutrients, minerals, even chemical imbalances and things like that. We call it hormonal imbalances, etc., that could be causing you to not be able to make proper decisions even when you desire to do so. Now, obviously, they could also be spiritual. There are so many different spiritual aspects to this. You want to feed your Ori regularly. Like, that's for everybody, regardless. If you're feeding your Ori regularly, your Ori, that is helping you to align with Ori, so that your head is keeping you in the right direction, and you're one with this force. And then your Ori is going to guide you. And if it is an issue with your hormones, or you're not getting enough vitamins or enough minerals or something like that, Ori will show you that, and then show you what you need to take, where you need to go if you want to go to a doctor, naturopath, or something like that to get help. You will get an alignment there. In some cases, you actually may need to take spiritual medicine or coaching, right? If you're having some significant issues, because there are situations where like people are kleptomaniacs, for instance, right? Somebody who is stealing, like they might even actually be wealthy, but they're still taking from somebody else. They might have $1,000 and this person over here only got $1 and they take that person's dollar, and they can't help it. They can't control it. They don't take it because they need it. They just take it because they are out of balance, out of alignment, right? People who deal with like extreme anger or violence, somebody who like is, always getting into fights, always being violent with other people, and they are having challenges with managing their anger, all right? Extreme promiscuity, right? So people who are, having sex with people, different people all the time, continuously. All of these problems could actually be healed or cured with a kosher or spiritual medicine, believe it or not. And, of course, we've been taught completely against that from a Christian perspective. Like, you're not supposed to do these things, but there's no help, or at least I wasn't, I'm going to say it that way, but there's no, like bona fide help other than like praying to Jesus or what have you for these types of things. But some people actually need spiritual medicine to help them out when they are out of alignment consistently, persistently, and they want to be in alignment. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You just do what you got to do if you want to be in alignment and you want your life to be balanced. Okay. You're saying, what do I suggest for feeding or read? You had Bible perform a head cleansing. How can I do it regularly on my own? So, well, there's two ways. You still want to feed your Ori with a sacrifice, and so that would be through your Baba, through the Ifa priest. You can. Do you have an Ifa icon? I mean, sorry, not Ifa icon. You have your Ori icon, because if you have your own Ori icon, you can be feeding your Ori icon on a regular basis. If you have one, what was I about to say? They will teach you how to basically feed. I don't want to say too much in there because I don't really like giving out like rituals and formulas and stuff like that outside of somebody that I am working directly with. But if you do have your own Ori, icon, then you can do that. If you don't, ask them to get you one so you can start working with Ori. So, do you have any icons? Like, do you have Ifa? You have your hand of Ifa. I think you said before you did have your hand of Ifa, right? Where you have your Ifa pot. So there is a similar icon. It doesn't look like the hand of Ifa. It's not the Akin, but there's a similar icon that you would get for Ori. In the same way you're feeding that Ifa pot, you're going to feed your Ori pot with the proper offerings that Ori takes. And you can also have them to feed Ori, like fish is a very, very common item that Ori takes. But there are other sacrifices that Ori takes, and you can have them feed them on a regular basis, like, once a month, twice, once every 2 months, 3 months, whatever that looks like for you, whatever works out for you. So I would suggest that if you want to get close, I suggest that for everybody, actually. Thank you for that question. I really suggest that for everybody to go ahead and get your Ori icon so that you got your Ori close to you and with you, and you can feed your Ori the offerings rather anytime you desire. Akin, it's okay. Akin, those are the things that come with your hand of Ifa. So the little so they look like the small black seeds, the one that's inside of the hand of Ifa pot. Those are going to be in that's what Akin is. And that's what you're feeding, that's what you're using when you work with Ifa. Trying to make sure I got the right name right, because I was saying Ori. I didn't want to make a mistake and say the wrong thing. You got the ones that sit inside the pot. Yes, that's what it is. The Iking, the black ones. And you could DM me after, okay? Because I think, like, if you want to DM me like a picture and I could tell you like this is right or this not right, we can do it that way too, okay? So this is what I really wanted to get to the gist of today, guys. Definitely check us out on the Asanee 44 website. We do have an Ifa Risha worship course if you want to know more about this process. So I encourage you all to join that course. If you want an Ifa reading, you can definitely get one through Asanee 44. We'll work with you through that way as well. Oh, thank you. You say your gentle spirit is appreciated, Empress. Thank you for your connection with spirit. Ashe, Ashe. the ancestors and everybody that is walking with me and working with me, because we all need it. We all need it. And I want everybody to know that, like, I'm talking from the knowledge that I've been blessed to get, but I'm walking this walk along with you. The same things I come on here and talk to you guys about, I have to live these realities just like you do. Okay. I have to do my offerings. I have to, feed Ori. I have to deal with my Igby. I have to deal with everything I, talk about with everybody else. Right. And I'm blessed to be able to help other people get reading, so I get to see it at an even heightened level, like what I'm dealing with, what they're dealing with, so forth and so on. But we all have issues. This is what it is all about. I am so sorry, YouTube. I did not see my comments here. Thank you, A. Thank you. Saying interesting that you placed Ori before Orisha. Oh, well, Ori is considered an Orisha, but your Ori is number one. That is your head. That's the spirit that is going to be with you throughout your entire journey. Like the Orishas kind of, go come and go, so to speak. But your Ori is your higher self, right? So the Orishas, especially when we talk about your head Orisha, because a lot of people love to get into that conversation. It's like one of the first things, when they hear about Ifá, because they hear about all these, beautiful, and they are amazing Orishas, and they want to connect with the Orishas first, not understanding that, like, your Ori is your closest connection, your ancestors and your Egbe. Those are the three top most important spiritual forces, but Ori is number one. Your like your head Orisha is going to be like your parent, right? So your parent is with you through a certain age and stage of your life till you reach the age of majority for the most part. And then you transition out of the home. Your parent is still there, usually, if they're still alive or what have you, or you have a good connection with them. You can call them up on the phone, ask them for advice and wisdom, but it's going to come a place in time after so long where you're not going to be as close to your parents. All right. And so, but your higher self, you are always with you no matter where you go. And that's the importance of Ori. Right. And I don't know if Egg is still there, because this comment was a while ago, but I did want to get into that because that's a conversation that I'm constantly having with everybody. Like, you can find out your head Orisha. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's something that you should be excited about, but you should also be excited about connecting with Ori first. That's why I suggest everybody get an Ori pot. Definitely. Most people start with, the hand of Ifá. That's what they know. That's what they go to. And there's nothing wrong with that again either. Because Ifá is going to help you get that wisdom, that knowledge that you need. But your Ori is vital to your journey. Absolutely vital. There's a difference in Ori and Ileta. I don't know what Ileta is. I'm not familiar with that. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna ask about it. So I might get if it's significant, I might talk about it next week when I come on the live. So yeah, those, all of the spirits are important, right? And there is a hierarchy, but that being said, it's not like you neglect one spirit for the other. You give all spirits their due diligence when it comes to feeding them and working with them. And see, that's another thing too. When you get an Ifá reading, a lot of people just assume, well, I'm going to go in and feed my head Orisha, or that my head Orisha is going to be the one that's helping me with whatever issue that I have. And you might get a reading and your head Orisha might not even come up as needing to be fed during that reading. Like, literally, in most of my Ifá readings, it's probably going to come up next time. But Ogun, who is my head Orisha, rarely comes up, right? Ori always comes up for me. Pretty much, yes. Egbe comes up quite a bit because I'm really connected to my class of Egbe. Things like that. Issue comes up quite a bit. Yummy. Yummy really is gonna, issue Yummy gonna get a portion of everything. But when it comes to like your head Orisha, it's not always the spirit that needs to be appeased to help you in that situation. Whatever spirit is around you and is going to be there to take responsibility for whatever circumstance you're dealing with, you don't know that until you get the Ifa reading. That's how it goes. And then they'll walk you through that path and tell you what needs to go down and what they need in order to help you. Okay, you were saying it is the shadow that comes from heaven to earth with us. I'm going to have to check that out because I haven't heard that, right? I've heard about shadow, the shadow, but I haven't heard that part, and I definitely don't want to misspeak. Greetings, is it Andre? I think that's how you say it. Greetings. Thank you all. So, guys, definitely, if you have any more questions, I'm here for a few more minutes. I got about 9 more minutes left, and I'm more than willing to take any more questions. But please, could guys, I know I'm saying your name wrong, but please, forgive me for that. But please DM me, okay, so that we can have that conversation a little bit further, okay? Thank you, Andre. Yeah, this is a very important topic. It is a very, very important topic to have. Andre saying this is an amazing topic. I can actually put that up because I can do it from YouTube, where I can from Instagram. So yeah, it is. This is a conversation we need to have time and time again, because people are getting this mixed up. Like, they can come to Ifá and think it's a free for all, right? This is my get out of jail free ticket. I can just do whatever I want. And that ain't how it works. How do you know if Ifá is for you? It's a quite beautiful question that I get quite often. I would say, like, this is number one, intuitively. If you're feeling like this is the path for you, you know this is the path for you. You can get a reading and see, like, is like this going to be a perfect or good fit? I won't say perfect fit. If this is going to be a good fit, because there are situations where Ifá would really, really fit a person's destiny, but really well, I should say. But other cases where they might should go down another path. Okay, I always say, like, look back into your ancestry first. What were your ancestors dealing with? And maybe start from there. If you're comfortable with doing so, if you feel led to do so. And I say that with me coming from a background of knowingly coming from a background of hoodoo. I did not go into hoodoo. I wasn't interested in hoodoo. It never called my name. But voodoo did. Haitian voodoo did. And Ifá did. Ifá started calling my name first, and I started traveling down that path and learning about that. But then I had to do an offshoot into Haitian voodoo because I had to deal with some things that my family line was, had practiced there. And so I dealt with both. I still deal with both. Ifá more so than the Haitian voodoo aspects of it, but I still do a lot of things that are related to the Haitian tradition. You're saying that we're all Christians, as far as I'd encourage you to look into hoodoo, because I'm sure it was some that was dealing with hoodoo, probably still are. Because most of the time our ancestors were still, kind of playing around with that. If you're not feeling it, like, tap into yourself to really figure out, like, what is catching your heart, what is interesting to you, right? When you start looking into different traditions and reading about things, what grabs you, and go from there. And like I said, you can get an Ifá reading to see, like, is this going to be a good path for me to travel down? Because I tell everybody this as well, like, tradition isn't for everyone, especially the traditional African systems. Hoodoo is a lot more easier because you're not making the same level of commitments to the Orishas when you get the hand of Ifa, when you get the Orisha pots and things like that. You're not doing that because There are some deities in hoodoo, but it's not the same as Ifa. A lot of that is root work and dealing with the ancestors. So you got your ancestor altars and things like that, and a lot of it is very much so independent, familiarly based work. Right? If you're not into like you want to work with Orisha pots, you want to get Ebo and sacrifices and things like that. Initiation isn't mandatory, but it is a route that many people do decide to take. So, if you're not into all of those things, like don't pressure yourself to go down this path because it's not necessary, right? You can still honor the Orishas. You do, right? Because the Orishas are natural forces. You just may not have to do it in the same way as people who are practicing Ifa and doing it on a regular basis and giving sacrifices and offerings and things like that. But definitely don't put that pressure behind yourself if you're not ready to make that commitment. Don't get an Orisha pot if you're not ready to work with it. Because if you get it and it just sits, the spiritual force or essence ends up leaving that particular icon after so long, and it's pointless. Like you just wasted your money and your time and so forth and so on. And even so, with that being said, take your time, even if you do want to get one, take your time to make sure that you're getting it from the right person, right? Somebody who is willing to help you, to teach you, and to show you what you need to do in order to work with those Orisha pots and things like that. Absolutely. It takes so much discipline and devotion. This is what this whole conversation is about when we're talking about Iwa Pele. Iwa Pele. It is not about just coming in here doing a bunch of rituals and voila, you just manifest magic and everything in your life is okay. No, you still got to work. You still got to be disciplined. You're actually expected, the more you know, to act accordingly. The more you know that you should be doing certain things and living a certain way, you get an Ifa reading, and Ifa is telling you that you shouldn't be lying too much, right? Ifa tells you that you shouldn't it's better for you not to wear white, or you shouldn't wear red at all. And you just decide to keep doing what you're doing because hey, red is my favorite color. I'm going to keep on wearing it. You're going to catch some problems, right? So it could actually be, it could be a warning for some people not to wear certain colors. In other cases, it's actually, like taboo, especially when they're connected with specific orishas, like Obatala. If that's your head orisha, you shouldn't be wearing red. But if red is your favorite color and you're like, I'm not willing to give up red, and it could sound so simple to you because you like, it's just color. It's not like I'm doing anything bad, but you are, because you're walking out of balance for what you agreed to do when you came into this existence. If you don't know, you don't know, right? Red was my favorite color. It still is, but I can't wear red. Oh, Bajala is not my head orisha, but it's actually like my class of Igbe. And I think I forget what other orisha, but that I'm connected to, that I'm not supposed to really be dealing with red too much, right? And so I had to stop that. It wasn't a big deal for me, but for some people, they're just like stubborn, like, forget it. I'm going to do what I want to do. And if that's you, this is probably not going to be the best path for you to take. Yeah. That's it. Way too many Ifa, many people claiming to be Ifa practitioners just playing dress up. 1,000%. A lot of people are just playing with this tradition. They're coming in here just to play games. And you don't need to do that, because you can get yourself in a lot of problems when you come and you start playing around with these orishas and you think I can just do whatever I want to do. I can just come here, I can get some little ritual work so that I don't get caught while I want to go and do XYZ over here. Nah, that ain't how it works. And it's definitely more than just the way you look. It's a whole way of life. It's the way you live. And if you're not ready for that, If you're not ready to live in accordance with the principles of Ifa, don't play the game. Like you can get ritual, you can get an Ifa reading without being an Ifa devotee. You just need some help with certain aspects of your life. No issue with that. But don't play the game. Like it's so not necessary because nobody's forcing you to do this. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and take leave of you now. Thank you all who showed up. It was a beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed this session. And I plan on coming back next week, Monday. So I will see you then. Sign up for the newsletter so that you can get the notifications ahead of time. Okay. So I bid you all farewell. Ashe, have a very blessed and beautiful day and beyond, guys. More life and strength to you too, Ashanti. Take care, guys. Ashe, Ashe.